Blue signs is the point where most people tend to get scared away from Factorio, since it is the first time your production chains become so long and complicated, but being prepared for it can make your job so much easier. Today, we're going to go over how to set up oil harvesting and processing and use these products to fuel your blue signs. So your first step in harvesting oil is to find some. You should have built at least a single radar by now, which will slowly reveal more of the map over time. Hopefully this will have found some oil for you, which you'll be able to spot by these small pink dots, which all get highlighted when you hover over them. If you haven't found any, set up a couple more radars to speed things along, as walking around looking will take far too much valuable time, which could be spent growing the factory. Once you've found some, you'll need to secure the area, as the last thing you want is aliens coming to take your oil the moment you leave it alone. I got lucky enough that some spawned right outside my walls, so it was a minor expansion to get it to safety. But if you're not so lucky, you'll need to at the very least build a long corridor to transport power, oil and ammo to the field to make sure you can keep it safe and functional. Once secure, build pump jacks on each of the deposits. Make use of underground pipes to keep the area easier to walk around, and route all of your pump jacks into a fluid tank or two to give yourself a buffer should they run dry. One great thing about pipes is they have no direction, so as long as all the pump jacks are connected to a central network of pipes that has a fluid tank somewhere on it, they'll all feed into the same system without worrying about crafting the perfect directional route. Now you have all this oil, if it's not nearby to your base, I'd make sure to route it all the way home and have your tanks in a safe location to keep your store safe should your oil field go down. Once safe, you can get to work on processing this oil into various products, but to start off with, we're going to process it into petroleum. To do this, we'll need an oil refinery. Of course, you can get the maximum ratio right out the gate to max throughput of your pipes or the production of your pumps, but to start off with, you won't need a massive amount and it's relatively easy to expand later, so just build a couple for now, and again, route the petroleum into a fluid tank for safekeeping to have a nice buffer. It can be hardest to notice when you run out of oil, so having plenty of buffer in your system is never a bad thing. Now we have petroleum, we can go on to craft a variety of different products. For now, we're going to focus on two, as we'll need them for blue signs: plastic and sulfur. Neither are particularly challenging and require one other ingredient each. Just be careful with the sulfur, as the water requirement can make mixing up pipes a possibility, which always ends up being a pain to clean up. Just give them lots of breathing room like so, and you should be fine. Underground pipes are also great as they can't mix, so use plenty of these to keep the space clear and prevent mixing up. Once again, you can optimize these perfectly to fill belts, but for now we're only going to need a little bit of each, so just build a couple and we're going to come back to it later. If you want to plan ahead to completely fill a belt with both of these, you'll need 8 chemical plants for each to completely fill a single yellow belt on both sides. It's also worth mentioning here that I really wouldn't worry about your initial oil setup, since you'll want to aim to rework it as soon as possible once you unlock advanced oil processing, which is far more efficient in terms of usable products from your crude oil. But to research this, you'll need some blue science on the go. Now we have all of our oil processing sorted, we can set to work on our blue science factory, and it's going to be a big one, like more than twice the size of any other factory we've built so far. As I said, blue science is where I know I often get sickened off the game, since it does get really complicated, but if I can power through it with my attention span, so can you. So first up, we'll need 24 regular assemblers for blue science to get that sacred 1 per second we're aiming for. Blue science needs 1 sulfur, 3 advanced circuits, and 2 engine units. So we're going to need to set up a lot of assembly lines to get everything we need. Sulfur is already being produced, so we don't really need to worry about it as long as we remember where it's going to join the belt. Engines are relatively simple, so we'll cover those first. We'll need 20 regular assemblers to meet the demand, meaning we're going to need 2 steel, 2 iron gears, and 4 pipes every second. Luckily for us, we set up steel processing last time, so we can simply pull off the belt no problem. Gears and pipes are also super easy, just 1 and 2 assemblers and some fast inserters, and we're all done. Okay, now advanced circuits, which are admittedly a little bit more complicated. All circuits, and well, I suppose everything, can be made on the main bus, but to date in my save I haven't done this, so if you're following my guides, you probably haven't either. Besides, doing it this way ensures that the system is always getting the exact right amount of product as long as the raw materials keep coming in, even if the rest of the factory is also demanding advanced circuits. To get the 3 per second we need, we're going to need to build 18 assemblers. They require plastic, copper wire, and green circuits. Plastic is covered by our oil processing setup, which we've already sorted, so no worries there. Green circuits will need 3 assemblers, which will need 5 assemblers of copper wire. We'll also need 3 assemblers of copper wire for the red circuits, and running a single belt of copper for both of these copper wire assemblers will be just fine to meet all the demand. Once you've got all your belts with raw materials connected up, you're ready to switch it on, and cross your fingers you did everything right and nailed the ratios. Normally I like to have blue signs right next to the military signs, placing it onto the same belt to go straight to the labs, but A, there was no room next to my military signs, and B, I kind of forgot and essentially built my factory upside down, so rebuilding it will have to wait for another day. For now, I'll simply route the output belt over to the military signs belt and have it fill on the empty side of the belt from there. As always, I'll leave my blueprint linked in the description below if you simply want to drop a blue science factory into your game without having to do all the maths and planning yourself. As usual, this massive addition to the factory will almost certainly take your power production to the limit, so make sure to expand it to accommodate the increased demand. Also check on all of your raw materials, including coal, to make sure you're not going to run out or run into bottlenecks further down the line. Of course, unless you have a city of labs, you're not going to be using the maximum capacity of the factory anytime soon, so as long as you can survive the initial spike, you should be just fine. Now you've got blue science set up, you can get to work on some of the more advanced research in the game, such as trains, drones, and more. But that's all we have for today. I'll leave links to the Factorio cheat sheet as well as any blueprints in the description below. Leave any questions you have in the comments, like, subscribe, and if you want more Factorio content, then check out this video on how to defend your first base and set up military science.